1, 2, is this on?
Over the years, numerous wrestlers have revealed how they didn't see eye to eye with John Cena.
You know, I think it came down to, really at the end, like two men just not liking each other. It had an impact on my career, because he is who he is.
Behind the scenes, Cena had rubbed various talent the wrong way, and vice versa.
It's like, holy crap, he hit me as hard as he could. Okay, I'm a rookie, I get it, he's taking his liberties. He took 2 more steps, turned back and looked at me and chuckled and said, how's the arm? And then that was the point where I think I wanted to kill him.
These grudges stem from creative disagreements, personal issues, backstage politics, and career sabotage.
John, like a little kid, pouted and sat on the apron. He wouldn't tag in all match. I got to the back, and then he just said to me, I can destroy your fucking career. Do you understand me?
For this video, we'll discuss why certain people fell out with Cena, while also hearing from the talent themselves as they give their side of the story.
Didn't I tell you to never fucking finish her? Yo, dude, I'm sorry, man. He's like, yeah, you better be fucking sorry. You fucking deaf. It just starts like belittling me like I'm 6 years old and he's my dad.
Today, we highlight 10 wrestlers who had real-life heat with John Cena.
People send off vibes, and you could feel that Undertaker is not a bad person. And they're having a very, very hard time making John Cena a good person.
Mr. Kennedy ticked off some important people during his run and was a victim of backstage politics. But Cena may have been the one that truly spelled the end for Kennedy in WWE. Ken had a great time working on SmackDown in 2005 and 6. But once he moved to Raw, which housed the likes of Cena, Triple H, Randy Orton, and Shawn Michaels, the wheels began to fall off. That's because Kennedy rubbed each one of these stars the wrong way. A hip toss went wrong in Ken's match with John on the October 1st, 2007 Raw. Cena tore his pec during the move, which meant he was out for the rest of the year and had to relinquish the world title.
I knew something happened because something wasn't normal. I had a complete torn right pectoral.
He gave me a hip toss. I somehow tore his pec.
Do you think that could have started a little bit of the friction, or?
Definitely. I know, talking to people, that I got the heat for that.
Kennedy has said that John hated him, and while there was a lot of heat on Ken backstage, it was rarely ever directed straight back to his face. People instead spoke behind his back.
I just always sensed that that he didn't like me. I would hear things from other people that he was burying me in the back or saying this about me, saying that about me.
Kennedy's goose was completely cooked when a backdrop on Orton went awry on the May 25th, 2009 Raw. Ken believes Orton got Cena to complain to Vince, which then led to Kennedy's release.
Johnny called me and said, we're unhappy with the way that things went on Monday, and we decided that we're not going to go with the Ken Kennedy character anymore.
In a 2010 interview, you claimed Randy Orton managed to persuade John Cena to complain about your in-ring performance to Vince McMahon, which prompted your release. Could you go into detail about how this happened, or perhaps divulge on how you know for sure that Orton persuaded Cena?
Cena was hanging out in the locker room, kind of just creeping, and then I was talking to Randy. There were some things that were said during the day, too, before I went out for the match that, you know, prompted me that Cena knew more about how the finish was going to go down then. Yeah.
Randy had apologized for initially blowing up at Ken following the move. The two have even made up in the years following the incident. Ken blamed others after getting released, but these days he holds his hands up and acknowledges the numerous missteps that led to his departure. However, Ken is still sitting on the full story, including the role Cena played in getting Kennedy fired. Kennedy has touched on some of the details, but is holding off on telling the entire truth until the time is right, something he promises to do on his Mic Check podcast.
Everybody always asks about the Randy Orton aspect of that story. John was way more involved than Randy, or just as involved, I would say.
Rick Bassman helped Cena a lot in John's early days. Bassman was the owner of UPW, where Cena got his start in wrestling. Rick let John train on a scholarship since Cena couldn't afford the $250 a month tuition.
We let go on his wrestling tuition because he couldn't afford it, which was fine because I knew he was going to be a star and it was good for everybody.
Bassman also landed John a spot on the 2001 show Manhunt. However, this is where the heat stems from. Rick had spent 2 hours closing the deal in which he would receive a 10% agent fee. Bassman told the story in an interview with the Hannibal TV.
It was a deal for 40 grand for Manhunt for John Cena. I was on that call 2 hours later while my wife is still sitting in the restaurant. I think it was our anniversary.
When Bassman called to give Cena the news about him successfully getting the role, John responded with a dry, sarcastic tone, which Rick took personally as a snide remark.
He's like, don't spend your $4,000 all in one place, okay? And I'm like, wow.
Cena took a shot at Bassman in a 2019 interview where he called out Rick's previous business practices.
We learned from our mistakes. At a very young age, early on in my career, I signed on with a shady promoter in Southern California.
John had also told other WWE stars about Bassman, including the Celtic Warrior Sheamus.
And I go, hey, Sheamus. He's like, hi. I go, hey. I go, I'm Rick Bassman. And he goes, oh. And he stood up and he walked away. And then a couple of the guys came over to me, and they're still there, so I'm not going to name names. They go, Cena has been burying you up and down with this guy.
When John signed for OVW in 01,
BASSMAN got him a contract worth $500 a week.
as opposed to the $300 originally offered. Rick was due to get a $50 per week commission for this,
until Cena ended his association with BASSMAN.
John was there for 1 week when I got a letter from him in the mail, and it was something like a one-line letter. I can kind of picture it now. I will no longer be needing your services as a manager. And that was it.
Rick believes OVW head booker Jim Cornette
told John to cut ties with BASSMAN.
It was absolutely disgusting to Jim Cornette that I had my hand in the boys' pockets.
Another non-wrestler who had a tough time with John Cena was actor and former WWE writer Freddie Prinze Jr.
We did not get along, and he did not like that I was there. I think he called me Ashton Kutcher for like the first 3 months I was there.
Freddie held promo class before shows to help talent be more charismatic. While talking to Chris Van Vliet, Freddie spoke about a time where Cena barged into a class, which led to a confrontation between John and Freddie.
John walks in and totally like interrupts the class and just sandbags the whole thing, right? And I stand up and I go, hey man, let me talk to you outside. So we walk outside, I go, dude, what are you doing, man? And these are his words, not mine. He goes, well, maybe, I'm a Neanderthal, but you either have it or you don't. And I go, brother, you have it, so you don't need to be here. But someone has to show these other people how to do it. And if you're not gonna, then who is? And he didn't say anything to me, and he just walked away, right?
Later on, Cena actually praised Freddie for a segment he wrote, which was revealed during an interview with Sam Roberts.
And John looked at me and said, hey, respect, that was a good segment, man. I just remember him coming back and saying that, and I just remember in my head going, no, sell it. and he goes, hey, man, respect. And I just looked at him, I go, yeah. I go, all right, thanks. And I walked past him. Because I didn't want to give him that satisfaction, you know what I mean?
On his YouTube channel, Ryback has been one of the most vocal wrestlers regarding negative interactions with Cena. The big guy claims he was always nice to John, yet Cena would bury Ryback's matches because he saw him as a major threat.
John always says he loves the WWE, but he does things that are only good for John Cena, loving John Cena. And he did it, and he's shown it time and time again. And anybody who's anybody there knows that. And everybody knows that that's on the inside there. But there's personal instances where he's gone out of his way to mistreat me. And for no other reason was, like you said, is he perceived me as a threat. And that his mindset is not good for the wrestling business, and it's not good for fans. So that's what I meant when I was saying he's a poison and he's a piece of shit. It's in that regard.
Ryback once upset John by declaring he would overtake Cena as the top merch seller in WWE. The big guy said this in the spirit of friendly competition, but believes John took it the wrong way, because in Ryback's words, John's not a competitive athlete. The big guy revealed that John threatened to destroy his career after they disagreed about who would start in the ring when they were teaming up at a live event.
John, like a little kid, pouted and sat on the apron. He wouldn't tag in all match until the very end. He didn't get in. He wanted nothing. I got to the back. He's fucking, like, he went off on Sheamus, and then he said to me, I can destroy your fucking career. Do you understand me?
Tyler REKS had heat with Cena because REKS' burning hammer finishing move was deemed to be too similar to John's attitude adjustment. This didn't become a problem until REKS was drafted to the same brand as Cena. In REKS' first match wrestling for Raw on a house show, the move got botched to where it looked more like an AA. John immediately noticed this and mentioned it to REKS. This was revealed during an interview with Lewis Nichols.
It kind of ended up looking like an FU. So we walk backstage. Cena looks at me in front of the boys like, I have to find you another finisher, dude. And I looked him dead in the eyes like, hey man, sorry. I know we kind of screwed it up tonight. It didn't come out the way it should have. We'll get it right tomorrow. I was like, okay, cool.
REKS hit the move correctly in his next match, but Cena had already made up his mind that REKS needed to change his finisher. John went completely nuts at REKS, which was detailed on the Hannibal TV YouTube channel.
Didn't I tell you to never fucking finisher? Yo, dude, I'm sorry, man. He's like, yeah, you better be fucking sorry. You're fucking deaf. It just starts like belittling me like I'm 6 years old and he's my dad, and yelling at me and like pointing at me with his finger like in my chest and shit. Like, I've done this in front of you before. Like, you never said anything. He's like, well, I'm telling you fucking now, get another fucking, do you like working here? Yeah, I like working here. He's like, you do it again, you're fired. I'm like, bro, I thought this is just a giant miscommunication. He's like, no, you're just fucking dumb.
Following the altercation, REKS changed his finisher, but didn't get to wrestle on Raw television until 9 months later because he was demoted to NXT. REKS regrets not standing up to Cena, but realizes what would have happened if he had.
I knew, like, if I said anything, I was fired. I had to make a decision. Like, do I shut up and say nothing and keep my job, or do I stand up for myself and lose my job? Because it's literally how it is.
Let's take a break from the list now to highlight some honorable mentions. There's been a lot said about Cena's real life and on-screen rivalry with The Rock. It all escalated until they eventually made up. Rock and Cena's personal feud broke records on pay-per-view for WWE, but both sides, especially Cena, regret how divisive things became.
Our rivalry, and now we can look back on it, was so real. Like, we had real problems with each other.
My view was, if you love something, be there every day. To me, it was more of like, I'm gonna jab this guy because I have nothing to lose. I have all the leverage. And so we wouldn't talk to each other. There was a lot of stepping over the line of boundaries of what's permissible and trustworthy in the ring and what's not. I violated his trust again by calling him out on some shit that I didn't necessarily ask for his approval. He did the same to me. So we grew farther and farther apart until we actually had to perform here in Miami for WrestleMania.
I'm like a weird business type of guy, but I always have a method to my madness. So I just go out there.
I spent years calling out The Rock, saying that, man, if you love the business, you should be back. What a fucking hypocrite I am. I love the business, I should be back.
Chris Masters was someone Cena didn't have much time for, though their heat was more cold than anything, since they simply chose not to communicate or be around each other.
The thing is, me and John, we don't necessarily, we don't get along on a personal standpoint whatsoever. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he just thought I was a slacker or what it was, or, I don't know. I don't really even know where it stemmed from, but, he didn't take to me very kindly, so I just kind of returned the favor.
When Husky Harris, aka Bray Wyatt, accidentally poked Cena in the eye during a tag match in 2010, it temporarily put an end to Husky's time on the main roster.
There was a guy there who poked him in the eye accidentally, in which it was John's fault most likely, and he had the guy sent back down to developmental and almost ended his career.
Husky poked John Cena in the eye in a match. Vince was so mad, Cena was so mad that they sent Husky Harris back to NXT.
After leaving WWE in 2011, Chavo Guerrero was quite outspoken on social media about his view of Cena. These rants lasted until the end of the year, with Chavo pulling no punches by referring to John as lazy in the ring and stating how he sucks as a wrestler. He criticized the 5 moves of doom and believed better workers had to carry Cena in the ring to get good matches out of him. Guerrero also said he could out-wrestle Cena with one arm tied behind his back. Chavo went on to declare that he would stop watching wrestling if John ever broke Ric Flair's 16-time world title record. As far as we know, the beef between Chavo and Cena is one-sided. Guerrero has said that John never responded to him. Meanwhile, Guerrero hasn't spoken negatively about Cena since the initial tirade on Twitter. Michael Tarver also used social media to go in on Cena upon departing WWE. Tarver worked John as part of the Nexus, who Cena infamously laid waste to at SummerSlam 2010. Tarver was the only member of the original Nexus that failed to hold down a regular place on television thereafter. That's because Michael suffered multiple injuries, which kept him out of action for 2 months, though he never wrestled again on the main roster. Previously, Tarver claimed John fractured his arm while carelessly swinging a steel chair at Night of Champions 2010.
It's like, holy crap, he hit me as hard as he could. Okay, I'm a rookie, I get it, he's taking his liberties.
Michael saw Cena backstage after and went to shake his hand while not wanting to bring up the injury.
I'm standing just like this, I said, thank you, John, thank you very much, and he just looked at me and kept walking. He took 2 more steps, turned back and looked at me and chuckled and said, how's the arm? I said, it's fine, and then he kept walking, and then that was the point where I think I wanted to kill him. I was so angry with him.
Tarver initially said Cena hurt him on purpose, before backtracking. He then noted how anytime he was in there with Cena after the injury, Tarver would lay it on John harder and harder. It all culminated on the October 4th, 2010 Raw, when John slammed Tarver on the steel steps. This spot was pitched by Michael, but it ended up tearing his right calf and causing permanent nerve damage in his back.
Tarver in trouble! Planting Tarver on the steel! Again!
This, coupled with a pre-existing groin injury, as well as the already fractured arm, meant Tarver faced a spell on the sidelines.
That injury basically started a downhill of a bunch of other injuries, which led to, me getting taken off the main roster and being sent back to FCW, and it just basically spiraled into my release. There's a lot that people don't know that happened that I experienced that was really negative.
Michael admits he and Cena didn't get along, and that John targeted him. Then after standing up for himself, Tarver noticed how people suddenly turned on him backstage, as he was given the cold shoulder. It wasn't long after until he was released from his contract.
I spoke up for myself when it came to Cena. When it got really heavy between us, I spoke up for myself. I defended myself, and it cost me my job.
Nexus leader Wade Barrett has made it no secret how he didn't like John, which stemmed from their time working together in 2010.
Look, I've had my issues with John Cena over the years. I think everyone remembers the problems that John and the Nexus had way back in 2010, and we were kind of bitter enemies for a long time.
That year, Nexus never recovered after Cena dispatched them at SummerSlam. The result of the match was decided by Vince McMahon, but the finish was called by John, as he barely sold a DDT on the outside, only to come back and defeat 2 wrestlers at once.
We got told that finish, and Chris and I went, oh, what? That makes no sense. They gotta go over.
Later on that day, we spoke to John Cena too. He reiterated the message from Vince that SummerSlam needs to have a happy ending. The kids need to go home happy. I thought it was then. I think it's now. It was a bad decision, and that's how we did it.
The narrative is Cena buried the Nexus.
Yes.
Do you think that's true?
Oh yeah, that's 100% accurate. That's what happened. That is what happened.
Is it because Cena wanted to go over in that match?
Yeah. Yes. And I don't know why he wanted to go over.
Since then, Wade's expressed his disdain for Cena in multiple interviews, saying John is someone he doesn't get along with in and out of the ring. He's also stated that Cena dislikes him too. Earlier in the year during a Fan Expo Q&A, Cena appeared to acknowledge that he did indeed screw Nexus back in 2010.
As you guys say, I buried the Nexus, I gotta shoulder that cross forever. Because that's me. I guessed wrong on the way that the story was told, and I think that's why people are so up in arms about it. But we tell so many stories. I was wrong once.
Our penultimate entry is not so much he as it is the failure to build that ideal father-son relationship.
We're referring to the real-life dynamic between John and his dad, John Cena Sr.
If I'd spoke at my dad's eulogy 10 years ago, my eulogy would have been like, he was just a guy. And I would have listed every other male important mentor in my life that guided me through life and was there when I needed them as a father figure.
Senior actually got into the wrestling business after his son became popular, making it one of the rare instances of a reverse second-generation star. For years they were never that close, and some of Cena Sr.'s behavior got on his son's nerves.
I loved this person for this section of my life, and I still have love for them, but they're not in that core.
Cena was instead much closer to his mother. There was indifference and resentment on John's part until he realized he just had to embrace Cena Sr. and take him for who he is, not what he wishes he could be.
And I have so much of a better relationship with my dad. It is in bursts, and I know what I'm getting into because I meet him where he's at instead of me like, hey, why can't you just be a dad to me? Like, he's trying. That's his way of doing it. And if I want him to be who I want him to be, then he's not himself.
It's that unconditional love that we know is there deep down, but doesn't always come to the surface, especially when there's underlying issues that aren't addressed by either side. Over time, they have worked to rebuild their relationship.
When I get the luxury of speaking at my dad's eulogy now, people will know how excellent a human being he is. And he hasn't changed one bit. And he's not gonna change.
These days they don't have that perfect bond by any means, but things are a lot better than they used to be. It was a deliberate effort made by the last real champion to mend that broken fence that lay unrepaired for decades.
His dad sitting here at ringside. What a moment for him.
Lastly, we'll look at the controversial fallout between Cena and Alex Riley. The two were initially friends until a disagreement saw them become enemies. John often invited Riley to drink on Cena's tour bus, where it's believed the excess drinking eventually became too much for Riley. It's something Riley's friends and John's foes, Ryback and REKS, have spoken about in interviews.
So Alex didn't want to drink anymore with John. And it said, I can't be doing this, I'm missing workouts, and there was heavy drinking. There was more than drinking that either happened or was asked to happen, and Alex declined.
Riley's like, I just need a break, dude. And Cena looked at him like that, and that was the end of Riley, dude. After that, he was buried. Like, he lost everything from that day forward.
The tension between the two inherently affected Riley's career, which subsequently never recovered.
This is the abuse of power from Cena, like, hey, you got to come drink on my bus with that. And the drinking was, I do believe the drinking was going on, but there was more than drinking that either happened or was asked to happen, and Alex declined. And then and if that story comes out, that alone will fucking destroy John, and it will fucking, because people are going to see the real John Cena. John would sit by the monitors and just destroy Riley and just talk about how much of a piece of shit that he was, how horrible that he was, every single day.
Riley has remained tight-lipped on what went wrong with Cena, which some believe is due to him being locked up in an NDA.
I'm not in the habit of destroying anybody's career, so it's just something at this point I don't want to address further than that.
You know, I think it came down to really at the end, like two men just not liking each other. It had an impact on my career because he is who he is.
Nevertheless, from the little we do know, whatever happened seems to be quite severe.
Do I look like a jacked up white guy with a giant head and a military crew cut? If I did, I wouldn't have a career here. Ask Alex Riley about that.
Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our similar video on 15 WWE wrestlers who snapped in real interviews. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.